in Europe with all the reaction here on Independence Live.
Well, hello, very good evening to you. Welcome back to the show. Independent Live on our European night. Here on the locker room, and it's been a mixed bag for the Scottish teams tonight. 3 Club Blues, 2 Hearts 0, and Rangers won by 4 goals to 0. 4 goals to 1, sorry, against Nice. Let's give Nice a better credit, actually, for scoring that goal. I was just about to say that Nice wasn't very nice tonight, but I suppose that was the obvious headline that newspapers can use tomorrow. I'm not sure. Contact my agent for the fee on that one. Joined tonight by Graham Duffy and Mikey, joined by Reagan as well later on. He's getting his makeup on as we speak, so it might take him a bit longer than usual. So we will begin the show with the usual things I have to say, the housekeeping rules. Get your comments coming in on YouTube, and we're on X as well. We're here until 11 o'clock. Mikey, let's start with the Rangers game tonight. Oh, sorry, Leon is on YouTube. That was a nice score tonight. I take it you were talking about the Rangers game as well. So, Mikey, let's start about the Rangers game tonight. And I suppose the old saying in football is, look, I need to say Nice wasn't at it tonight, right? But it's all saying on football that you can only beat who's in front of you, and I think Rangers done a professional job tonight.
Yeah, they have. But I genuinely think this creates maybe not issues for Rangers, but it begs a question as to why they don't play like that every week. They seem to play like that only in Europe, and when it comes to domestically, they just completely go off it. I don't know if it's just the players are getting up for it more with a European game, but on the whole, I mean, terrible for Nice, but Rangers were very professional, as you said. They got the job done and they did very, very well at it.
I don't know whose sound it is, but I'm having a bit of feedback, so I don't know if it's coming from the green half of Edinburgh or the maroon half of Pennacook. So
I can hear it as well.
If you can check your sound, that'd be very cool. Mike. I mean, I was watching that game and I thought, well, Rangers has did well in Europe this season, but why can they not do that in Scotland? And it just baffles me. Oh, okay, the Rangers fans will be going away happy tonight, but they'll be just wondering why can they not do that against Dundee United, Motherwell, Ross County, Kilmarnock?
I think it comes down to whether they can really get up for it in the same sort of way. I think that there's that sort of extra incentive with the European game, especially with the sort of recent history of Rangers in Europe, the way that they've kind of done so well in the past. And this is not a new almost issue for them. You know, they went to the Europa League final back in 2022. That season for them was far from inspiring in the domestic sense. I mean, they were dropping loads of points towards the end of that season. And it almost just seems as though in such an early stage of the season, they're just not getting up for it in the same sort of way that they really should domestically. And I mean, when it comes to European football, they're unbelievable. But I think that the teams they've played as well, I think they've kind of helped Rangers look a lot better. I think everyone that they've really played, obviously Bucharest in the last game was not exactly much of a challenge. And tonight, I mean, Nice were pretty dire for most of the game, so it was a frustrating one for Rangers fans to kind of take, because if they could play like that every week in Scottish football, then all these troubles would be lopsided, and I think you could kind of see things a lot more clearly if the performances were very sort of consistent. I mean, even if they went out and didn't play very well tonight in Europe, you can kind of tell that there's sort of those issues there, but you don't really know what's the issue with Rangers because of the way that they're so different between competitions.
Graham, why can Rangers race a game against Nice and big European names as well, but fall domestically as well? Because they might be okay. We'll be talking about a brilliant Rangers run away from home, and listen, it could give me 6-0 tonight, because Rangers had a few more chances as well. But I mean, Mikey's right. I mean, why can they not like perform like that against like Dundee United at home at the weekend, and then they can go to Nice and win 4-0 comfortably, 4-1. But as I said, it could give me 6-0 comfortably tonight. That must be a concern for Philip Clement.
I've said it before because the pressure's off. In Europe, it's a very different kind of pressure it is in the league. In the league, they have to win every week to try and catch up with Celtic. It's different in Europe. They can go there. They can, there's not as much pressure on them. And I think this new league phase actually gives them a decent chance of getting through, which I think they will now as well. I just don't think there's a lot of pressure on Rangers in Europe. I don't think anyone really expects Rangers to go away to places in Europe and win. But they keep coming up with the goods because I just don't think there's a lot of pressure on them. Whereas in the league, it's very, very different. And then that's what I think that's what it is, to be honest.
Regan, me and yourself done a pre-show at 4:45. 4:45 to me. Actually, it seemed ages ago. That's why I get mixed up with the time. Either that or else I'm getting older. I don't know one or two. And you said, yeah, I will. Yeah, I was waiting for Graham to come on there, but thanks for coming in at the back post. That was good. You said 2-1 to Rangers. But also you said it was going to be a tight game, and to be honest, it was a complete opposite tonight.
Aye, Rangers really showed their quality, and fair play. I've not seen much Igamani, but yeah, I mean he showed tonight that if Rangers can get service to him, then he could be dangerous. But like I said earlier, the fact that if you go to the St Johnstone game on this Sunday on Sky, they're going to park 10 buses, whereas Nice they were pretty open. There was loads of space, but I don't think it'll be that on Sunday against St Johnstone, because Graham was talking on Friday that he's enjoyed seeing St Johnstone under Valacari. So St Johnstone are playing okay at the moment, so it'll be a totally different game. But no, fair play to Rangers tonight. I thought they played well.
Yeah, of course, Igamani. Yeah, that was the first time I've really saw him as well. Mikey, you always do the show, whether it's on a Friday night or Sunday afternoon, and we always talk about the game, and then we always talk about VR in the middle of the game. But it was a bit bizarre tonight because it was opposite. VR happened at the beginning of the game as well, but we didn't really know what was happening. And at the end of the night, they gave a free kick to Rangers. I mean, can you work that one out?
No, because I didn't see it, to be honest.
Okay.
But, yeah, I didn't actually get to watch the entirety of the game. I got to see basically most of it. I got to see all the goals and everything, but I did see a little bit on X of the sort of confusion, but I can't really comment on it because I wasn't watching that bit of the game.
Graham, Regan, what was your take on the mix-up?
It looked like they were looking at the Connor Barron incident. That's what they were looking at. And I think in the end, it probably was the right decision. I'm not sure why they gave a free kick in the end, though. But I think probably the penalty not to give it was the right call. But where the free kick comes from, I'm not entirely sure.
Regan, what was your take on it? Because I was a bit confused, and so was Graham's pal, Rory Hamilton. He was a bit confused as well.
I would say fair play to the referee, because a lot of the time when they go to VAR, they stick with their choice. But he kind of took his time, and Alan McCoy was saying in commentary, "There's no way this could be a penalty." And I had to agree when I seen it for first time. I didn't think it was, but like you were saying, they thought they were looking at something completely different. So no, I'm just glad that the referee actually took his time and he's made the right call there. And that's what VR's for. I know we did a great VR show last week, but that's what VR is all about. It's all about the clear obvious errors, and that's what happened there.
Now, we all go to the football in this show, right? Glenn and Mikey and Reagan, and we always depend on your pals who's watching the game in the pub or whatever in the house to text you what's happening. Right now, if the commentators do not have a Scooby about what's going on, what the hell are we? And we haven't got any chance because they didn't know what they were looking at to make Glenn and. I think Rory was saying on commentary as well that this should have like, is it in rugby where they have a what do they call it, TMO, where they actually speak to the officials, but you can actually hear them what they're speaking about. But that incident tonight, there was really about 2 or 3 or maybe 2 incidents in the same passage of play. But they still don't know what they were looking at.
Yeah, I mean, there was 2 incidents, but I think he was looking, by the looks of it, at the Conor Barron one, which I don't, I think it was the right call in the end. But it would be nice to, and we keep talking about the fact it would be nice to hear the refs mic'd up and what they're saying. I don't think it'll happen. I know it is getting trialled eventually, but I don't think it'll happen. But it would be nice to hear what's going on, and especially for the commentators. Like you said, they had no idea what was going on. It doesn't help us when the commentators have got no idea and the players in the park have got no idea. But as Reagan said, fair play to the referee, took his time, he made the right call, and you don't mind if they take their time if they get the right decision. But I think too many times this season, they've not come to the right decision. So yeah, I mean, VAR was brought in for clean obvious, as we said before, like the whole thing with St Mirren Aberdeen, when Gogic got the red card and it was rightly turned over. That's what it's there for. And tonight it did do its job, but yeah, there was a lot of confusion from everybody because I don't even think Rangers players knew what was happening at that point.
Reagan, so basically, no penalty, free kick to Rangers. They went up the park and they scored with a man of the moment, Cherney, and it put Rangers on the way to win tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a really probably standout player for Rangers this season. He scored some important goals. I remember a game when they beat Motherwell 2-1 in the semi-final. They beat Motherwell 2-1 in the league as well. And yeah, he's the one kind of guy that's stood up this season, and he always seems to, as if he's got that creativity for Rangers. So I think overall, Michael, I think he's shown his quality, and I think tonight he's shown again that he can be a very important player for Rangers.
Yeah, no, exactly. The man of the moment, Mikey Cherney scored it as well. And then after that moment that Leon maybe had a penalty claim, but it was very kind of soft if it was. It was all one way. It was all Rangers, and it continued into the second half as well.
Yeah, it did, and I think just the way that Rangers really sort of set up from really the outset of the game, and I mean, once they got that first goal, it didn't look like they dropped in. It didn't look like they sat back, and I mean, it really benefited them because they were constantly keeping that pressure on. There was that constant threat of them, and I mean, if they'd have kind of dropped in and let Nice back into the game, then you never know what the score could have been. But I think the fact that they kept that pressure on and got the second goal relatively soon after the first, it almost killed the game off before Nice had the chance to get back in it, because Rangers just kept that sort of constant pressure on, and it was just sort of they'd score, they'd continue the pressure, they'd go and score again, and they kind of just weren't really giving Nice a break in that sense. And as you said, with the penalty claim, there wasn't really too much in it, and I think I would have been very surprised had it been given.
Yeah, no, Grim as well. But I mean, you've got to talk about the Rangers' performance outstanding tonight, especially away from home. As well, and I know that Nice wasn't very nice tonight, as I said at the top of the show. But you still got to beat who's in front of you. Still got to do a professional job, especially away from home, as I said, because not many teams in Scotland goes away from home and wins by that comfortable margin tonight.
Yeah, and they were professional. They got their job done. And on the back of what was a poor result performance against United, they had to go there and get something tonight. And yeah, it was very professional, did a very good job. They could have had more, but oh my word, Nice could not have made that any more easier for them. They reminded me of school kids playing at school where everybody just wants to go forward and the poor wee defender at the back has to stay there all the time. All they do, if Rangers got the ball in their own area, all they had to do was launch the ball forward and they were 4-on-1 every single time. But there were times they just didn't get the ball right. I don't think I've ever seen a team as passive as that, as Nice. The amount of chances they gave up, surely at some point, the manager or some of the players have got to say, we need to sort this out because they're getting picked off every single time. I mean, it was so easy. Fair play to Rangers, they did very well, very professional, like you said. But oh my word, they weren't half helped out by Nice because they were dreadful.
I think.
Can I also just quickly? Can I just quickly say I think that elements of that game reminded me of, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but the Chelsea-Tottenham game last season when Tottenham were down to 9 men and Chelsea had constant just 4-on-1s. And it was just that sort of, there was that sort of pattern in the game where all Rangers really had to do was just launch up the park, as Graham said, and it was just unbelievable at times.
Regan, I was going to say as well that I would like to go on to X and whatever and see what Rangers fans are saying about Clement, because you've got to give him credit. I mean, for weeks and weeks, he's been taking stick and he shouldn't be there as manager as well. But he went away from home tonight and beat a top European team. Well, not on tonight's performance, and won away from home. So I think you've got to give Philip Clement credit as well, especially the team that he put the team that he put out as well. I mean, Iggy Manley was like the standout man, and Jeff Day and Diamant. You can pick a few of them out, or you can pick a man of them out as well. But you've got to give Clement credit tonight, I would say, and I think that if you go into social media and yes, you're going to get the old idiots, one or two, right? It always happens. But I mean, I would be very surprised to say Clement could go after that performance tonight, because it would be a bit harsh.
I mean, Rangers fans just need to get off his back, because I think he's got a really raw deal at Rangers. They've got no money. They've got no direction at the moment from boardroom level. So it's been a bit difficult for him. But I think it was like what we spoke about earlier on the pre-show, that Rangers would get a lot more space. But I did say to you earlier, Michael, that I felt like Rangers had to win this game, because I expect them to lose the next 2 games against Spurs and Man United. I expect Spurs and Man United to both beat them twice. So this was a game where Rangers had to win to qualify, and I think now they will, because they're sitting in a very good position with 10 points.
Although you never know that the game that Man United went as well, that must have been some game to watch as well. Also, Regan, I was saying to you as well on the pre-show as well that if you ask any Rangers fans, they would be looking for a good result and a good performance. Usually when you ask fans, it's like, results over performances as well. But because Rangers hasn't been doing it of late, it's important to get a good result and a good performance as well. And I know that I've said to Mikey, in fact, it's quite ironic that Mikey's on the show tonight, because me and Mikey kind of debate sometimes in the group chat about how many decent performances have Rangers had, and I would say that that's up there next to the Malmo performance tonight, Regan.
Aye, but I think that's probably Rangers' best performance of this total season. I think they showed their quality, and what they need to do now, Michael, as a team, is they need to do it more often, because we all know now that they're actually a decent team, but also Rangers fans don't want to be coming out at 2:30 on Sunday, Michael, and everybody's saying, well, St John's won 2-0. You know, because what's the point of building on this tonight? It's okay going to Nice and winning 4-1, but you need to follow up there.
That's a good point that Reagan makes, Mikey, because it's like, how many times have we said it about teams this season? I'm not going to mention your team. It's okay, Mikey. You can put your hanky down. But it's all right going away from home and putting on a brilliant performance for 94 minutes tonight as Rangers gig. But it's what you do in the next game against St Johnstone, and then the next game, and then the cup final as well.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why the pressure's on. Come on, it's not like a mystery that the fans are. It's not a mystery that the fans are going against Clermont because they're third in the league. They're doing absolutely. They're not doing well enough, and results like this, it's not a new thing with Rangers. Like I brought it up in the past. I brought it up a wee bit ago. Back in 2022, when they went to Europa League final, the results weren't good enough in the league, and Rangers, for them, they have to win the league. They have to domestically get these trophies, and anything outside of that's a failure for them. And I think that results like this, although they're very good, it doesn't mean anything if you're not going to go and back it up every week. Because for Rangers, that's the expectation. Every week you have to win. Every week you have to get the results because teams like Celtic and even Aberdeen are miles ahead of them. So, I mean, yeah, obviously it's a good result tonight, but I don't think this hugely gets rid of any of the issues with Clermont because he's the one he's obviously quite heavily to blame for the situation that they're on domestically. And yeah, fair enough, you can get them up for the European games, but when it comes to that domestic football, that's the main thing for Rangers, and being whatever it is 8 points behind Aberdeen, regardless of how well you're doing in Europe, that's not acceptable for any manager. And I mean, yeah, it's one of those where I'd be surprised if this really does much for the Rangers fans in terms of with Clermont, because I think there's been so much damage done there over the last few months that I don't think this result will hugely sort any of the issues that they've really got going on, in my opinion at least.
Do you not think that it buys them a bit of time because he's made some big choices tonight, like Michael said there about the striker Igamani. He scored 2 goals tonight. That's a big call by the manager.
Yeah, but the issue is we've seen it before. We saw it with the Malmo game. He made changes. It worked. We've seen it. He's made changes domestically as well. It's not like he's had the exact same team out every week. He has made some changes there, and it's not working domestically. So, I mean, yes, obviously it's a big decision. He's got it right tonight, which fair play to him. He's done a very good job. But we can't sit here and pretend that this is all sorted for Rangers because we've literally seen the case study before that they've gone to Malmo, put in a performance, maybe not the exact same as tonight, but very similar. And then 2 weeks later, the pressure's right back on Clermont. Maybe it gives them a bit more time with the board, but with the fans, I don't think it does because I think the fans are beyond that point of. I think they've seen so much of Clermont now and so much of the issues that's really surrounded his time at Rangers that unless things drastically change on all fronts, there still will be the massive doubt around him. And yeah, I don't see that changing after tonight at all. I think if you were to get any Rangers fan on the show tonight, they'd be, yeah, it's a good result. They're happy with the performance, but this doesn't get rid of the pressure on Clermont. I think far from it because we've seen the exact same thing happen with Malmo, the exact same thing happen against Bucharest the other week, and domestically things aren't getting better. If anything, things are getting worse. So I don't see this really changing a massive amount.
Am I right in thinking, Mikey, that the Malmo game that you're talking about was the next game to play Hibs at Ibrox and Rangers won 1-0?
I believe so. I'm not sure if it was exactly that one, but even that Hibs game, they were really poor. Hibs should have got something out of that. I'm not saying that from a biased Hibs perspective.
No, I mean, Hibs should have won. Yeah,
penalty, everything like that.
I agree with you, Mike. Dwight had a chance, even at 1-0, and then the penalty as well. So, I mean, Hibs probably should have won that game.
So I think one, it's maybe a little bit too far. I think we should have got a point out of it. I think winning it, you kind of can take these chances in isolation because all they're big chances. But I don't like to kind of think, oh, we should have won that game. We lost it, that's the end of it. But I think looking at that performance from a Rangers perspective on that day, it's night and day compared from domestically to European football. And I think the main thing for Rangers is domestically. Now, you're not going to win every trophy. That's obviously a given. And the way that Rangers are at the moment behind the scenes, the fans are a little bit more sort of inclined to go with the manager and kind of back him a bit. But the way things are domestically is obviously so poor that even these results in Europe, which are very positive, that they're only really papering over the cracks because of the massive glaring issues that are going on, especially in the domestic sort of situation that's going on there.
Graham, we're talking about Africa Rangers win tonight, but I've got to go back to it. I mean, what's happening at Rangers? Because there was one change in that team tonight. Like one change, I think will make a massive difference. Right, and the whole team, that whole team playing on Saturday against Gun United and got points. I mean, Rangers fans must be scratching their heads and saying, well, you know, it's okay if we make 5 changes tonight, but one change, and every biggie was, and I can't remember who that one change was. That's the Egamani, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah. And all the rest of the team was the same. And they say, well, why can't we get a tune out these same 10 players that they were playing on Saturday?
I mean, I think they had a better balance with them tonight, but I keep going back to the fact I think it was made very easy by the fact that Nice were terrible. You know, their defending was awful. Yeah. You look at the goal for Diomande. Now, again, it seems like I'm taking a lot of Rangers, but they did play well. You know, they had to get in those positions. They did play well. But some of the defending, you know, that Diomande goal, the boy just lets it go. And Diomande finishes it very well. But, you know, there were times they actually played some decent stuff tonight, but it was one goal over the top, catching Nice every time. There wasn't a lot of patterns of play. It was just very, very simple. But yeah, I mean, the fact that, again, James Tavernier's not started, you know, it's been Sterling who started. I think he gives them better balance on that right-hand side. So there are things that Rangers will definitely take positive from tonight. It was a far better performance. But as the guys have said, they need to build on that now. You know, there's no point in going to St Johnstone on Sunday and then getting beat. And that's where you're going to be judged now. Not on tonight, because Europe's a kind of free hit for them. They'll be judged on Sunday. If they drop points tonight, if they drop points on Sunday, it'll be a case of, well, what was the point tonight then? Do you know, does that just show how bad Nice were? They have to build on that. I think St Johnstone going to be a far tougher game than folk will think it is, because I generally have been impressed with Vallecari so far. It'll be a tough game. So yeah, Rangers can take plenty of positives tonight. The fact that Egamani's got a couple of goals. The fact, again, Czerny, I still think is our most creative player. So there's definitely positives to take. But I think if you're a Rangers fan, you'll be realistic to know that you have to build on that now. You have to carry that on for the rest of the season. Will they do that? I don't think so.
Can I also just quickly, just one really quick point is look at the Nice team. They're at second bottom of the Europa League. And I mean, you can obviously say Nice they're a big side in France. Obviously, they've got some very good players there, but things are obviously not going well for them at the moment on the park either. So it's not like Rangers have gone to a team like, for example, Lyon or a Man United or a Tottenham. I mean, Man United are not the best example. They're not doing great, but it's not like they've gone to a team that are kind of playing at the top of their game and they've gone and comfortably beat them. Nice are sitting second bottom of the Europa League table. I'm not sure where they are in France, but I don't think they're doing very well there either. And that's not taking anything away from Rangers. I mean, obviously they did the job on the night, but I think it might become, you can kind of put it a bit more in perspective when you look at the situation Nice are in at the moment. And just looking at the way they played, they seem to be in big, big trouble themselves, because that performance tonight, you wouldn't expect that from St Johnstone or even a championship team in Scotland. It was a terrible performance from them. And I think you kind of need to bring that into perspective as well, that it was a very poor performance by Nice, along with the very good performance by Rangers themselves.
Regan, if there's any learning for say that again. If there's any learning for Philip Clement to go on Sunday, is keep that same team. And I know that the guys that Mike and Graham spoke about how poor Nice was. yeah, that's fine. But put the same team out against Johnson and see what happens on Sunday.
Yeah, because all these players have done very well from tonight, so it's important that he rewards them with a start. So I do expect that Dessers will be dropped for Igavani, and I expect that it'll be the same team. But it's interesting that you talk about there about Tavernier, Michael, because I worry as a guy as well. I mean, Tavernier this season, he's offered virtually nothing. I would actually say he's probably checked out. I think he's probably checked out a long time ago because even as you look back to last season, he scored the odd goal, but he's not really scored much. I know me and Graham was laughing on Friday saying he's not getting many penalties, but but he's not actually he's not like done really well. And
Can I just say that Tavernier was Rangers' top scorer last season? He scored, I think it was the third most goals in the league overall. So I think saying that's very unfair for last season. I think this season, obviously, things have gone not in his favour at all. But yeah, I think to say that last season he checked out is I'd say that's a very harsh way of looking at it because he was the top scorer last season. He was probably their best player. He won them the League Cup. So I think to kind of say that is very harsh in that sense. But I do agree that this season's been very poor.
yeah, Michael, Mikey, I think just in terms of last season, I just can't remember him scoring that many worldy goals. But I do remember him like putting in some great balls in that. But no, I didn't know he was the third top goal scorer. So fair play for that start there.
Yeah, it's all right. I mean, you can have a look at the free kick goal against Hearts in the semi final in the Viaplay Cup last season. That was quite a good one. But yeah, I do get your point that his performance levels haven't been as good as they were. But he's like 32, 33 years of age. Like that does happen, especially with a fullback who's so reliant on pace and the all round game. I think that he was very good last season. He got thrown under the bus, which I was not a fan of at all. And this season, I mean, the way that he's been treated by the fans, especially, I'm not happy with at all. But I mean, I can see why he's been dropped. He hasn't performed on the park. But I think the reaction he got from the fans, especially towards the start of the season, was pretty abhorrent in my opinion.
And I suppose a lot of credit, but and twice I've said this now on the show, Graham, tonight maybe I'm tired, I don't know. But a lot of credit must go to Philip Clement to drop you. He must, well, at half 10, I can see that. He must have balls to drop his captain because how many teams have you saw, like, so obviously we're going on to talk about Hearts in a minute. I'm sorry, Graham, we have to. But how many times have we saw a team drop the captain? It's a bit kind of like unusual. And for him to come on when the game's actually won tonight.
Yeah, there's not many managers that do it. I wish other managers maybe had the balls to do that, but fair enough. And it's been vindicated. Dujon Sterling's done well last couple of games. He's physical. He's stronger than Tavernier. Maybe doesn't have the same kind of threat going forward as Tavernier does, where he's delivering it in the box, but he's still a really good defender. So yeah, fair play to Clement. He does deserve credit for that. Tavernier's form this season's not been great, but it's not just him. He takes most of the blame because he's the captain, but it's not just him that's been underperforming. That whole team's been underperforming if you look at it. So yeah, it's a big call for Clement, but he's been proved to be right. But the thing is, he has to learn from this now because on Sunday, if he then goes back to Tavernier and he starts Dessers again, Rangers fans will go, well, what's the point? You've got a really good result tonight. I get your point you said, Michael, about keeping the same team, but you're going to get the impression that Clement might just go back to what he knows and go back to guys like Dessers and Tavernier on Sunday.
And I know it's going to be a different game, Graham, because obviously we talk about on the show between St Johnstone and Nice, it's kind of like night and day. And especially it's away from home as well. It's the early kickoff and all the rest of it as well. But I'll just be interested to see the team names coming out on Sunday, just to see if he actually keeps that same team or else. Because if he goes back to, as I said, Dessers and all that, and they drop points, well, the knives will be out for Clermont again, because why change a winning team?
it might be a fitness issue. You have to look at
Yeah.
tonight and see who. You might have to look at tonight and see who maybe needs a rest. I know you probably shouldn't, but because the games are coming thick and fast, he might think he maybe needs to rest a couple of them. But you'd be disappointed if you're like Igamani to start the game tonight, score 2 goals, your confidence will be up. To then not start on Sunday, you'd be very disappointed.
Can
Okay.
I just
Yep.
sorry? Can I just come in on one thing just to kind of finish off? I think that it's kind of a lose-lose for Clement in a sense because he's made one change tonight from the performance against Dundee United. So you can look at it from one or two ways. Igamani's come in, done very well. If you then bring in Igamani and they don't perform at the weekend, the knives come out for Clement because there's not been enough changes from the rest of the domestic campaign. If you look at it this way, they've made one change and things haven't got better. So usually if things are going so badly, you make drastic changes. But then if he does change it for St Johnstone on Sunday, then the knives come out for him again because, why would you change that winning team, as you said? So I think that it's a very difficult one because they've only made one change. So it's pretty much the exact same team that had that very poor performance against Dundee United at the weekend. And I think that it kind of becomes a lose-lose in that sense because Clement, like, he can't have it both ways. Like, you either make the changes or you keep the same team. And I think that the changes have been very minimal and they've worked tonight. But then if those changes are very minimal for Sunday and it doesn't work, then the questions are asked again. So I think there's a bit of a lose-lose there for him.
And that's a fair point Glenn Mike has made as well, because like obviously we spoke about Nice tonight being very disappointing. Rangers won 4-1 and all the rest of it. But it's going to be a very difficult game, especially away from home, and you don't know what that park's going to be like, McDermott Park, because sometimes it's nice, sometimes it's not so nice, depending on the weather. And it's going to be more of a physical game, and more. I think St Johnstone would face more of a threat tonight than Nice tonight, albeit at different levels and all the rest of it. But Mike is right as well, because if you keep that same team and Rangers still drop points, then you're going to be thinking, well, do they only turn up every 2 weeks in the first
It's a
night
lose-lose.
at 8 o'clock?
It's a lose-lose situation because if he plays the same team and they get beat, they drop points. And then if he wins the game, but Dessers does nothing, people go, well, how come Igaman didn't start because he scored 2 against a French top level team, So it's a kind of lose-lose situation where he's kind of the knives are going to be from either way. So I think for Clement, he just needs to go home and see what the players are like. If he's got anybody injured, anybody not well, So you just need to weigh up on maybe Saturday night, Sunday morning, see how everybody kind of rests up and prepares well.
Talking about Sunday, there's a game on as well. Hearts are playing Aberdeen, and the Hearts won the action tonight. Sacre Blues 2, Hearts 0 in the game. And to be honest, we done the show on Sunday, and we were talking about Hearts having better chances in the first half. And if you look at that game tonight, right, it was something similar to the Celtic game last weekend as well, because Hearts should have been maybe like 2-0 up at half time on Saturday. And I don't know about you guys, but I think that was the same tonight as well. Like Shankland had a chance, and Vargas as well. Forrest should have done better with the shot as well, all coming in the first half.
I feel the last few times I've done this show, the word I've used is frustrated, and I'm going to use it again because that's exactly what it is again. It's very much a case of deja vu. You can just copy and paste from the last game we've just played. The chances we're getting, they're not being taken, and you cannot miss chances at that level against anybody. First half, there wasn't really much in the game. I didn't think the Blues were great. I think we were helped by the fact that Kevin Denke, their best player, was sold. He would have been suspended anyway, and I thought with a chance tonight. I mean, their home crowd was pitiful, to be honest. It was a dreadful crowd. But I thought we created plenty of chances in that first half. Shankland's an effort that's decently saved. He's unlucky with the back heel that he has. Again, Vargas maybe should do better. But the first half, I thought we were okay. It wasn't like they were getting low the chances. And then the goal they get is just symptomatic of our bad luck just now. The guy doesn't even hit it properly. If he strikes that properly, Kent blocks it. He completely mishits it and it goes in the net. But I thought we reacted well after that. I thought we came back into it, had a couple of chances again in the second half. Me. The chances we missed second half. Kenny Vargas wants to play at a higher level. Seriously, do me a favour. And then the penalty that Shankland has, I was sitting there going, he's going to miss this. It was so obvious he wasn't going to score. The guy is lacking confidence. Why didn't he let Blue Whittle take it, who wanted to take it, and he doesn't even hit the target? You've got to at least hit the target, make the keeper make a save, and he puts it over. Yeah, it's just another. And then the second goal again, massive deflection, and it just sums up the lack of luck we're getting now. I feel sorry for Critchley. He can only use what he's got. He needs a January window to sign 3 or 4 players. But the massive issue, as it has been for weeks, is the fact that we're not taking chances, and Lawrence Shankland is really struggling. And he talk about having the balls to drop people. I think he has to be dropped on Sunday now. I think he has to come out the team because he's lacking so much confidence.
Mikey, you'll be happy because that's 2 games Hearts has got beat by 2 green and white teams tonight. But we also spoke on Sunday that Hearts had the better chances to win the game, right? But the aim of the game is to put the ball in the back of the net. Hearts are missing chances. You don't get any goals for that, and that's really a concern as well. And the chances are Hearts. I would be interested to hear what Graham says as well here, but the chances are Hearts are having, Graham. I put in the group chat, put your latest through it. I think that was the chance I was talking about Vargas, I think it was, in the first half. But they were all half-hearted. Everything passed back to the goalkeeper. They were that tame.
Yeah, there's a lack of conviction in front of goal, but it's not just Shankland, it's the whole team. It's Forrest, it's Vargas, it's Danda, who I think has been quite poor, to be honest, recently, and I'm disappointed with him. So yeah, the chances we are getting, we are creating them, which is good, but we've got to start taking them. The keeper's made a couple of saves that he should make because they're at his kind of height. There's a chance in the second half where Vargas just doesn't catch it properly, and that sums him up as well. We are creating, and there's not a lot Critchley can do if players are not taking their chances in the final third. But the other issue we've got as well is the fact that we can't keep clean sheets. We're conceding goals just about every single game. And if you can't keep them out at one end and don't score at the other end, you've got a massive, massive problem. So I feel sorry for the 3,000 Hearts fans that have travelled tonight. Great trip. But yet again, they've seen a team that has failed to deliver in front of goal. Again, I quite like Neil Critchley's comments after the game. He's very honest. But we can't keep coming at the same thing that we're struggling in front of the goal. We've got to take these chances. And, yet again, I think that's 5 or 6 golden chances tonight. But I genuinely believe if we score that penalty, we don't get beat. But that's where it's going just now. We're just not taking our chances.
Mikey, we always talk about managers can only do so much. And I suppose Neil Critchley and other managers as well, Maybe to your own team, David Gray as well. Work away the squad Monday, Friday on the training park. But once you pass that white line, you've got a job to do. You're getting well paid. You're doing a professional job. You're playing for your Hearts fans that Graham Watson in the house with his son and all the rest of it. But you're also playing for the Hearts fans that went out there spending lots of money to go out there to put in a performance and then to miss a penalty like that. So what I'm saying is, Neil Critchley can only do so much work on the training park, but once you go over that white line, whether it's on a Thursday, Wednesday, Saturday, or Sunday, it's up to Lawrence Shankland, it's up to the Frankie Kent, it's up to other players to put in a performance and a winning performance as well, and it must be worrying at the moment, Mikey.
Yeah, I'm obviously in a similar position with Hibs. Like it seems to be the same sort of stuff every week coming back to bite us. But with Hearts, the main issue for them is that with Hibs, they don't play well and they don't win games. It's a pretty easy formula. Hearts play well and still lose games, which is an even bigger issue in my opinion, because then it's much more difficult to find the root cause. But I think it's as simple as this. There's players that are starting week in, week out that don't want to be there. I mean, Vargas and Shankland are both given their intent to leave at the earliest sort of opportunity. And as much as they might say, oh, I'm giving it everything until I leave, there's still that sort of psychological element of, oh, we've lost the game, but that doesn't matter, I'll be out here soon. It's the thing with when teams are down in the relegation zone and really struggling, it can kind of become very difficult for managers to get teams up for it, because the players are like, oh, if we go down or if we end up losing all these games, then I can just leave in the summer. And it becomes a much more difficult task for a manager to get players up for games, because players' mentality sometimes is just, oh, we're not doing well, so I'm going to look elsewhere. When, for the likes of especially Vargas, who I don't think has really performed at any stage of his Hearts career to a consistent level that's really backing up the words he's kind of saying. And I think that with the way that I feel sorry for Neil Critchley, because he's putting these players out on the park and at least a couple of them don't look bothered. I mean, Shankland missed the penalty. Yeah, he might look a bit frustrated, but he doesn't look like the type of striker who is absolutely devastated and wants to get right back into it. He's looked unbothered after many different games this season, like the likes of Aberdeen when they lost, laughing at the home fans, and it's just that sort of attitude that several Hearts players are kind of bringing around with them, that it cannot be useful for the manager. And I think that's where Neil Critchley needs to kind of step up and go, right, well, if you don't want to play for me, then I'm not going to play you. And until you have that attitude to play for the badge, you're getting put in the reserves. And I think that's the whole thing that I would like to see with David Gray, when there's players in the Hibs team that don't look bothered and they don't look like they're giving 100%. I'll sit there and go, well, why are they playing? If they don't want to play for you, why are you playing them still? And that's when I think that you can criticise Neil Critchley, because yeah, he's struggling. There's not really that many options behind the likes of Shankland, but if they don't want to play for you, then give others a chance. Like it's a weird one for me, but I mean that for Hearts tonight really just sort of encapsulates that. Shankland missed a penalty. At his best, he was missing a lot of penalties at his sort of peak last season. He missed 3 out of 4 at one point. So yeah, with Hearts there's a lot of different issues, but the main issue is when they're playing well, they're still not picking up points, which is a really, really bad sign for any side.
I mean, that was the thing that I said to Michael earlier. Like, if you look at even Hearts and Hibs, like any player that does bad, they've not got any competition to come in. You know, and that's a big thing for me. Like, if Shankland's not playing well, then I don't really see Boyce being the option. I know Graham's been telling me James Wilson's been doing all right. I don't watch Hearts as much as him, so I take his word for it that he's been doing all right. But I mean, Graham said to me back in August that it was going to be a bad season because Hearts needed a striker, and he was bang on then, you know, and that's where Stephen Naismith needs to take a bit of the blame as well, because maybe he's brought in too many luxury players as well, where he's thinking, well, Shankland will score his goals, but you need that variation in your game instead of just relying on Shankland. Because if you look at a lot of the Hearts games last season, Graham, and you can even tell me this yourself, but I'm sure like a lot of the games it was a 2-1 win and all that, and Shankland was scoring a lot of the goals.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at tonight, you're 1-0 down, 10, 12 minutes to go, and you bring on Barry Mackay, who has barely features this season. That is where we're at just now. Again, I feel sorry for Critchley. He can only do what he can do with that squad. But Barry Mackay is never going to be an option coming off that bench. He'll be gone in January. And then you're looking at Liam Boyce. Again, another player that won't be here in January, I don't think. You're bringing on guys that won't be here come January because of nothing else on the bench. Moussa Drameh, who scored on Sunday, isn't in the European squad. He wasn't selected, so he couldn't play tonight. But that's another issue we've got. And I said it months and months ago that we needed a striker in the summer. Because if the worst came to when Shankland was sold or he was off form, because it was going to happen, we had nothing else there. But Stephen Naismith said, I'm happy with what I've got. Well, nobody else was. You could see the issues were going to happen eventually. And if you've got a striker that's not scoring goals, you need other players to step up. Vargas, Forrest, Danda, Spittle. Our top goal scorer is Blair Spittle. He's got 3. They came in 3 straight games. We don't score enough goals when we get chances. And it's a recurring theme. And I think I would have more respect for Shankland tonight when that penalty is given if he said, you know what, the way my form is just now, I don't feel confident, give it to Spittle. But he picked the ball up and took it. Now, a lot of folks say that's bravery. I don't believe that at all. I think it's kind of a thing that I just never felt confident was going to score. I said at the time, I said at the time he's going to miss this. Surely somebody's got to be saying to him, how do you feel about this? Are you confident taking this? Because you don't look it. And yeah, I mean, he did look unhappy when he missed. But he shouldn't have taken it in the first place. You need somebody that is scoring goals. Wilson's got 2. Spittle's got 3. They actually are confident in front of goal. No, he should never have taken that penalty.
Can I just quickly just come in on something really quickly? Just with the whole thing with the summer transfer window now, I do agree they should have brought in a striker of maybe a higher level than Moussa Dramé, because he came from the Spanish third division or whatever it was. That wasn't really one for right now. That was obviously one for the future that Naismith brought in. But I actually thought that it was very smart business at the time, because think of it this way, even if Shankland did drop off form, not as dramatically as this, but if he went from 30 goals down to 15, something like that, around that sort of margin, the idea of bringing in the likes of Spittle and Danda, who were proven entities in Scotland, which is very important for transfers, the whole idea of that was, if Shankland's not firing, those players will. And the issue is that Shankland really isn't firing, and neither are they. So I think that I can't really blame the recruitment a massive amount, because I think the idea was there. The idea was very good. And the signings themselves were actually very positive, I think. The likes of Boateng, Penrice, Danda, Spittle, they're all proven entities in Scotland, which I think is very important for a team trying to sort of stamp their authority on where they want to be. But I think that the way that the season's transpired, it makes it look like the business was really poor, because you look at it and say, oh, there's no good striker behind Shankland, they should have brought someone in. But the whole idea was that they wanted to make the goals wider, like a wider sort of variation for the team, which obviously hasn't happened. But I think if that had happened, and the likes of Danda and Spittle, if they were scoring the goals when Shankland wasn't, then this whole issue of, oh, we should have had another striker doesn't really come into the equation, because it just becomes good business at that point. But I think it's very unlucky the way that things have kind of gone this season, and I'm not entirely sure why, because, as I said, I think that all of these players, maybe apart from Danda, because I don't think he was a massively influential player when he was at Ross County. I never rated him as highly as some people did. But look at the likes of Spittle, the goals that he brought in, and the thing with Shankland last season. I think that it was a very good idea. It's just sort of disappointing the way that it's sort of turned out in the end.
Graham?
I mean, our best player this season has been our left back, James Penrice. I think he's been signing the season for me. There has been other decent ones. I think both times done well. But we are killing ourselves in front of goal. We're just not taking our chances. And I keep going back to the fact that it isn't just on Shankland. There's other players as well who've got to step up. And the fact our top goal scorer is Blair Spittle with 3, it's not good enough. But I do feel sorry for Critchley, because I do think their squad has the makers of a decent squad, but they're just... Start of the season was terrible. We lost 8 straight games in all competitions. And if you're in a losing run, it's difficult to get out of that. And it's just not really earned. You know, I actually do think some of the games under Crit are actually quite decent. We're playing some decent football. But we're just not getting these results, and we're not getting the luck in front of goal. It has to change. You know, tonight is a massive disappointment. I still think we can get through. We've got 2 games to go. And I do think we'll beat Actual Cup at home in the last game. I think that might get us through. But the form's got to change, because we can't keep doing this. We've got a massive game on Sunday against Aberdeen. I mean, yeah, the pressure's really on, but I don't blame... Somebody actually messaged me earlier to say, I'm losing patience for Critchley. If anyone's blaming Critchley, you're on a different planet. This has nothing to do with him. he needs a January window to get a few players on that side with pace, because we've got no pace on that team.
Good evening to Greg Brown. You're watching on YouTube. He says, "Good evening, guys." Yeah, Grim. You must have been psychic there, because I was about to say this to you as well. This is not Neil Clitz's team, right? But how do you feel, right, watching the Hearts game tonight when the ex-Hearts manager, a failed Hearts manager, is commenting on the game? Now, I know how the media works, right? But how do you feel about it? I mean, I would be interested to hear what Mikey and yourself and other Hearts fans think about that, because I just feel it's like, you know, you were a failed manager at Hearts, you got the sack, you never played the players in the right position, yet you're in a TV studio you're summarising on the Hearts game. I guess feel that was a bit baffling, but I'm not surprised.
Everyone needs a job, don't they? I didn't really have any big issue with it. He's there to do a job, fair enough. You see it all the time where kind of ex-man that I've maybe not done well get a job on the TV. I've no real issue with it. And some of the things they said, I agreed with. I thought he was right in a lot of what he said, but yeah, I don't really have any issue with it. My issue is what's happening on the park, just and how we turn it around. I wasn't that bothered at all about Naismith being in there.
Right, okay. Maybe it's just me, Mikey, but I just thought it was a bit kind of weird to see.
I don't think he was a failed manager. I think that's very harsh to say. I mean, he got them third last season. That's Hearts' limit. And yes, he had a disappointing start to the season. That's well documented. And he probably did need to go at the time, but I think he's very far from a failed manager at Hearts. I mean, he did a brilliant job last season, and things obviously haven't gone his way this season. And I think some of the stuff from behind the scenes is starting to come out now, with the likes of Vargas and Shankland sort of trying to force themselves out the door. I think that Naismith did a very good job at Hearts, and obviously the end didn't go very well, but just look at what he did last season. I think that it's a very harsh thing to say. But as for him being on the TV, I don't see any problem with that. Craig Levein was on Sports Sound. I think it was 3 days after being sacked by St Johnstone, commentating over a St Johnstone Ross County game, and there was no issues then. So I think it happens all the time, and I don't see any real issue with it. I mean, Andy Halliday plays for Motherwell, and he's going on Super Scoreboard talking about Rangers. So I think there's more pressing issues than someone out of a job getting a job on the TV talking about a team. And yeah, I think that with Naismith, I think he did a decent job when he was at Hearts, and I don't really see why it would be an issue anyway, because I don't really think there's any bad blood there. I think it was just things kind of went a bit sour towards the end with probably a lot behind the scenes as well, with what's sort of coming out at the moment.
Okay, maybe that's me, Graham, as well. I'll take my media hat off at the moment, but yeah, I mean, going forward, Hearts has got a big game on Sunday against Aberdeen at home, and they will want to get back to winning ways, because that's 2 defeats back to back domestically and European football. But also last time out in the Europa League, they get beat well, so they don't want to get in the habit of that.
No, it's been a habit pretty much all season. We don't seem to get a run of wins together. We get maybe one win and then defeat. But we don't tend to lose to Aberdeen at Tynecastle. It's weird. We can't win at Pittodrie. They don't win at Tynecastle. Hopefully that continues on Sunday. But we need to get reaction. And I'll be really intrigued to see the team sheet when it comes out on Sunday to see how many changes we make. I think Benny Benningham will come back in. But the big one's going to be Shankland. Will he actually drop him? His comments after the game tonight would suggest that he won't. He's defending him, as I'd expect, in public. But I wonder if we might see a couple of changes on a Sunday. And everybody is now clamouring for Shankland to be dropped. I'll be intrigued to see if he actually does it, though.
What's your comments, Glenn, before we finish up about according to, I think it was the Hearts Standard, Reagan put in the group chat about the Hearts fans basically singing the usual chant, Shankland, get to. You know, I thought that was a bit unfair because I mean, I can see the point. Like he missed a penalty, and if he scored the penalty, you know, they might have won the game or picked up a point as well. But I just felt as though that was a bit unfair because it's a team game. So you know, it's not down to one man.
If Shankland didn't get 31 goals last season, those fans wouldn't even be in Belgium. He's a big reason why we got third place in the league in the first place. He's struggling for form, absolutely, but I don't agree at all with the fans singing that. And any fan that did it is an idiot because they're venting their frustration, which I do get. But you've got to look at what Shankland's done the last 2 seasons. 59 goals in 2 seasons. Got us third place. I don't know what people... I get why fans are frustrated this season, but you've got to look at what he's done for us in the past.
I just think, just to kind of end things off, I just think it's the, as I said, I think it's the manner of his sort of, it's his body language as much as anything. I've obviously heard that you maybe don't fully agree with that statement that he doesn't look interested, but just, I think the one that really struck out to me was Aberdeen away. He was sitting laughing at the home fans coming off after a 3-2 defeat in a massive game. And it's been quite a few times this season where he's missed a big chance and then he doesn't look bothered. And I think it's that element of it mixed with the whole thing of him wanting to leave. I think it's adding up in a lot of fans' mind. And I know that what he said, obviously the fans wouldn't be in Belgium without him, but think about, they've spent so much money to go out there. And, you know, that they've spent so much money, they're following the team everywhere. And every single week, Shankland seems to have just gone from looking so interested and so brilliant last season to now just moping around, not really giving the same effort levels. And then trying to put a penalty top corner when he's out of form and not at the top of his game. I saw it on X that if you're in that sort of run of form, just smash it down the middle or put it in one of the bottom corners. Why are you trying to put a top corner for the cameras? And I think that's the whole frustration from the Hearts fans. And having known quite a lot of them myself, it's a build-up of multiple things. It's not just this penalty missed tonight. It's a lot of different things that have kind of came together recently that's kind of added to that, I think.
Well, I think that the last couple of weeks when we've had these shows, we've been very positive because we've had positive results. But I think between the Celtic result and tonight's performance for Rangers and the Hearts, it's been a mixed bag. I would say maybe disappointing. The only winners this week was Rangers winning comfortably by 4-1 against Leeds, and early on we had Blues 2, Hearts 0 in the Conference League. Thanks to Mikey, thanks to Graham, thanks to Reagan, and thanks to you as always for contributing to the show. Don't forget to give us a wee follow on X. We are Locker Room Indie on X, and we'll see you tomorrow for the weekend preview of the Premiership. So so we'll see you soon.